Hello and welcome to this episode of Today's Students, Tomorrow's Talent, the show about learning after high school brought to you by Lumina Foundation. The number of Americans that have some college credit but have not completed a degree or credential has been rapidly increasing over the past few years. A July 2020 report from the National Student Clearinghouse shows that the some college no degree population has grown to 39 million Americans. 39 million people is about 1 out of every 4 adults in the United States. And even more concerning is that this group grew by 9% between 2018 and 2020, and many researchers are fearing the worst as we continue to learn about the impact of the pandemic. Students stop out of college for dozens of reasons, most of which have very little to do with their inability to learn. Family life, accidents, illness, working full-time, finances, and so much more can make a student discontinue from their college pursuit. And what are they left with? Credit that counts for very little, no credential that can be used to get a well-paying job, and oftentimes considerable debt for something that they will never see a return on. This month, we're splitting our show into 2 parts, letting us deeply explore the reasons that people stop out and what it takes to bring them back. On part 2, we're going to talk with nonprofits and college leaders working hard to support students back into, through college, and into employment. But today, on part 1, we start with the learners themselves who stopped out and are making their journey back into school. Later on this show, we'll talk with Jamar Izzard from Philadelphia, who returned to complete his bachelor's degree after being out of college for 20 years. But first, we go to Fort Myers, Florida, and meet Juquilla Henry and her future maker advisor, April Mesa. Juquilla talks about the challenges she faced trying to re-enroll in school and the kind of support she needed from her navigator, April. Let's get started. Well, thank you both for spending some time with me today. And Juquilla, I want to start straight with you. I've recently heard that you just re-enrolled. Congratulations. I'm super pumped for you.
Thank you. So am I.
Yeah, and you were saying, we were just chatting briefly off camera, and you were saying, just like classes have already started and long days, but it's been, 20 plus some years since you've been in school. Is that right?
Yes, it has been 20 some years. It's kind of like a refresher. So I would say, my first day, I was a little bit, anxious, nervous, scared, all at the same time. But this is my second week. Everything's great. It's a lot of work. Get
Absolutely.
frustrated at times, but I feel like in the end, everything's going to be all worth it.
So I want to go back, maybe 20 years ago or so, if that's the right timing. Were you in college at one point in time, then had to stop out?
No, I wasn't in college. I actually I dropped out my senior year of high school. I dropped out my senior year. And I was I'm in a program, and I met April. And right now I'm in the process of getting my GED, and I'm in a technical college right now.
Great.
So it's all been a journey for me, a little bit of a journey for me. Yeah.
Why did you originally stop going to high school?
I was young. I just you know how you are when you're young. My head wasn't there. It wasn't that I couldn't. I just made the choice. I just didn't want to. But now that I see, and I have kids of my own, and my kids have their high school diploma, I feel like, that's something that I need to establish for myself as well. I feel like I need my high school diploma as well.
It's just nuts to me that you have kids that have their high school diploma. How long after you dropped out did you have kids?
I didn't have a kid till I was 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my first kid at 20. And to this day, neither one of my kids know that I don't have a high school diploma. They still don't know. So I try to take the next steps, to try to get my GED. So in my process with me trying to go back to school, I went to a college here to try to see if I could get, some assistance to see if I could help, because I wanted to go back. And they told me that I could get my high school diploma and my CNA. It'd be all in one program. And they told me that I would have to pay like $18,000. And that really had me in my feelings and had me down, because I'm a single Black mom. I have 4 kids. Like, where am I going to get $18,000 from?
Mm-hmm.
And that really had me like down and out. I was really, really depressed about that, because I said, I was like, I'm trying, and I want to do this. I want my education. I want a better life for me and my kids. And I went in to speak with a caseworker, and he introduced me to April. And from that point on, it was go. It was, I mean, she got me connected with people. She helped me sign up for school. I mean, it's just been great ever since I met her.
Yeah. And I kind of want to focus in on that part, so you approached the private college first and said, hey, I want to go back. I want to get put on this healthcare pathway, get my CNA. And obviously, a massive sticker shock, right? I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Where am I get this money from? You got referred over to April. I have to imagine, though, I mean, when we're navigating a lot of different systems and offices, it can be frustrating to kind of be passed around. Oh, talk to this person, talk to that. What were your, before even meeting April, like, you're there with a caseworker and someone says, oh, go talk to these Future Maker Reconnect people. What were your expectations? What did you think?
I honestly, to be honest, I thought that at first I was like, maybe it's going to be, I was like, this maybe this is a bunch of crap. I don't know, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna go and see what she's talking about. And before I could reach out to her, she reached out to me, and I was surprised. She reached out to me, and she stayed on top of me. Anything that I needed, any questions that I had, whether it was morning, noon, or night, she answered. She responded. She would, I mean, even if it was just that, everything's going to be okay, take a deep breath. She's just always been just positive to me. And I appreciate that. And I felt like I really needed that, because the way that I was feeling from the college that I went to, I really felt like I didn't have a chance, and like I wanted to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, in April, I know one of the things that we talked about is that, you did such a good job in terms of helping really sequence things out, because, suddenly, you have a first meeting and you're saying, okay, let's get you into a different higher institution that actually can meet your needs, way more affordable. But immediately, to get you started, it's a massive checklist. I actually wrote it down, what you all shared with me. I mean, you have to start getting a lot of things in order just to enter into that, CNA program. You have to get your immunization records. You have to get your, your teeter tests and the COVID vaccine and drug screening and background checks and the FAFSA and the applications. So April, walk us through that. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of steps. How do you go about that to make sure it doesn't feel so overwhelming?
Mm-hmm. That's the problem that a lot of people get to, is that they get to that spot where they're given the list of steps and they just look at it and it's too much. And I have to add this on top of the list of steps, list of tasks that I have to do every day, especially as a mom of 4 kids that's already working full time. So it's easy to say it's too much, forget it. So what I do is just break it down. I took screenshots of her list that she left from the school with. I took a screenshot of the list of to-do things that she left CareerSource with. And I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on this. You just focus on the first step. And then once that's complete, we go to number 2, and I will keep the task list and we'll check everything off as it gets done. And as she started knocking one thing out and the other thing out and a third thing off the list, she started getting more and more, excited and confident. It was not so daunting anymore. I could do this, and this isn't, I just have to take one step at a time. And that's all it really is. When we first started working together, she said that she knew that she could not see herself working going to a program that was longer than the CNA 6-week course. And after, like, just recently we were talking, and she was saying that she could see herself going as far as RN because she has support. She has the support system that she could lean on. She knows that she can text me or call me whenever she has a question or feels overwhelmed. She has a job, an employer that is supportive. She has a school that is super supportive. So that's what people need. You know, people just need to have that support and to know that they're not alone. Because if you're alone trying to deal with that task list, you know, just forget it.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get to some of the employer supports because I know that's coming in. But before we even get there, you know, Juquilla, I want to come back to you because, you know, I remember, gosh, I can't remember. It was a job I had not that long ago, and they needed my immunization records, you know, and I didn't have them. I had to like call my old high school and like some, you know, summer intern high school student who was working there had to like go into like the vault and like dig through boxes. I mean, you know, you had been out of high school for 20 years. I got to imagine that some of those records, I guess, are there things that you had to dig up that were just insurmountably more difficult?
Actually, they couldn't even with my immunization record because it was so old. They was like basically like it didn't exist anymore. So they couldn't even go back that far. So all they could go back to was 2007. So I'm like, oh gosh, so I have to get all of this all over again because they didn't even have record of it. So they couldn't dig it up. They couldn't do none of that. So past like a certain point, like there's like it can't be brought up. They can't find it past a certain point. So I had to go get all those immunizations all over again.
I mean, is the same thing true when it came to things like transcripts? I mean, and really what I'm getting at here is, you know, a lot of colleges want to help adults, working moms like you, re-enroll in some kind of program, but yet, you know, we haven't yet changed the admission systems to kind of reflect the reality of someone's life. And so I think, you know, it's interesting to hear, you know, from someone like you who has, you know, 20 years later is going, you know, is going to finish that, you know, high school equivalency and then go into the CNA program. You know, are there things that you just thought, gosh, you know, why am I even submitting this? Like, you know, it's such a pain to go back and get it. Do you really need it?
Yes, I did. There was one point when I felt like, you know, like this is just too much. Like they put me through too much. Like I want to I felt like I didn't want to do it anymore because I felt like it was too much. But, you know, once again, like, you know, April was there to like, you know, give me the push, you know, and the encouragement and the motivation that I needed. So, I mean, like she said, we went to knocking things off the list, you know, one thing at a time. And then finally, I mean, everything was complete. I didn't think it was gonna be possible, but it was possible. It got completed. And then after we got everything completed, I got a job offer from the hospital. And I was already enrolled in school, but they offered me a job and then they offered to pay for me to go to school. Basically I'm earning while I'm learning. So that's awesome as well. So I got to go to school. I got to get a job something that I always wanted. I got to, you know, make money, provide, you know, a better life for my kids. And I mean, everything's been great. I'm so thankful and blessed to have gone through what I've gone through to get to where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, you were sharing with me that, you know, so, okay, you finish all these application steps. You're like, I cannot believe this endless list is actually complete, feel on top of the world. But you had currently a job, and then they had said that they weren't going to work with the schedule. Is that right? And that's what kind of prompted you to go to
that's what I was stressed out about that because I'm saying in the back of my mind, like, I'm trying to better myself. So why wouldn't they, you know, accommodate, you know, the schedule, you know, with me trying to go to school? And, you know, I talked to April, and, you know, I was stressed out about it. I talked to her and she said, hey, why don't you apply to the hospital?
Lee Health.
Lee Health. Why don't you apply to Lee Health? So I did. And not even 3 days, I got a phone call and they wanted me for an interview. I went in for an interview. I interviewed with 4 RNs, and one of the RNs was a neuro nurse. She was supervisor on the fourth floor, which is the neuro department. And I told her that my mom had a stroke 2 years prior, and she was on that floor. So I told her that, that I had a good experience with the hospital and that they treated my mom, good. And if I had the opportunity, that's the floor that I would want to work on. And she told me, that she liked my attitude and she liked my work ethics, and she said that someone will call me. So maybe 2 days later, I didn't get a call. I got an email saying, congratulations that I was hired. And I started July, I want to say a week before I started school. I started on the fourth floor as a CNA trainee. And everybody's been great. Everybody's been helpful. They're working with my school schedule, and I'm happy. I'm the happiest person alive.
I'm so excited that Juquilla persevered, especially when it got super tough and she wanted to give up. She knew that there are hoops that you have to jump through. This school is providing you with a certificate that's going to give you a career that you have under your belt and nobody can take away from you. There are certain hoops we have to jump through. You have to prove that you have certain immunizations. You have to have the background check, the drug screen. We have to jump through the hoops. There is no magic secret. I can't just say dippity doo dah and now you don't have to do these things. We have to go through the obstacles. We have to jump through the hoops. And I'm going to arm her with the resources and the supports that she needs to get it done. And after she, put in some hard work, great things started happening. This Earn While You Learn program that she was offered to be a part of, this really reinvigorated her. And then it was just one good thing after the other. Then when the problem came with her employer, I just reminded her that employees have power today. Employers need to support their employees and they need to show that they are for the employees and they want to help you grow. So I just said, I know about employers that do want to help you grow. So let's apply there and see if you can get a position there. And then that's what started this connection to the Earn While You Learn program. So there's just a lot of great opportunities out there. And my job is to go out there and learn about them and bring them in front of people that can use them, like Juquilla. So I'm just really happy that it worked out well.
Yeah, April. I mean, that's such a good point. I mean, I'll say, I have never met a single mother of four that does not have grit and perseverance and tenacity, right? I mean, and it's funny because we talk about, a lot of folks say, well, if students just had more perseverance, we need to focus on soft skills so they can actually get in the system. But that's not the problem. The problem is what you've just illuminated, that there are lots of steps. Sometimes there are obstacles and hurdles. Other times they're necessary steps, sure. And then there's also a lot of, ways that the system doesn't work very well. A CNA program or an education program schedule might not fit in with every employer's schedule. And so now we're constantly searching for employment. And Juquilla, it's amazing. I mean, here you are basically walking into July, brand new job, in an education program. But April, I want to come back to you just briefly because what is sticking out to me so clearly is your role in this to try to make the system work better. You knew that there were job openings at Lee Health. You were aware of the Learn and Earn program. How is it that your organization really brings these folks together to know about all these? I mean, obviously you're not just sitting there Googling things. Like, these are clear partners of yours. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Because our organization is a network. We have a network of 251 active individual partners. We are partners with more than 140 organizations in Southwest Florida. So we have a network of people that help to support us, that actively call themselves future makers. If I come up with a problem and I don't know how to fix it, which I don't know how to fix all the problems, but I have people that I can lean on that can help me, figure out what else is out there. So part of what I do is going out there to the community resources, to the employers, to the schools, and learning about what you guys have to offer today. But, a lot of it comes from me, myself. I was an adult learner. I had to go back to school as an adult, working full time. I did 2 classes at a time. I was originally in school to be a teacher. I was in the elementary education program. The last semester of that program, you have to be in school Monday through Friday the whole time the teachers are. Internship, like it's an internship, so you're not paid. I was working Monday through Friday. So it was either like start working overnight Monday through Friday while I do that, or switch my program. So I ended up switching my program to a bachelor's degree that I could complete at the time that I could do it because I was an adult working.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think sometimes that lived experience is too often overlooked, but is so important when trying to reveal places in the system where there's really an opportunity for real improvement. So Juquilla, I just want to kind of close out the story before we get into some of the bigger picture things. You have a new job, you've started classes. Where are you today, and what does the immediate future look like for you?
The immediate future looks great. I plan on finishing my CNA program, and my next step is I'm gonna get in the RN program. So it looks very promising.
That's great. And what are your classes like now?
My classes are Monday through Friday, from 8 until 2:30. Very 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 heavy workload. But I'm managing it.
That's really impressive. It's highly impressive. I mean, like, I can barely juggle my normal job. I don't have any kids. Like I just true. It's amazing what you're doing, and I guess that's one of the things I want to kind of ask about. We've heard your story. Coming back after 20 years, finishing that high school diploma. Onto a post-secondary pathway. You have a new job. You're part of a Learn to Earn work program. You're having some of your tuition offset. I mean, you're really on this great pathway, but it's been hard to get there, right? I mean, we just heard about all the steps and all the processes.
Yeah,
what's motivating
you?
It's been
a struggle.
What drives you to do this?
My motivation is my kids and my mom. That's my motivation. My mom is my motivation for the medical field because I want to learn, as much as I can learn, due to her situation. My kids are my motivation because I want them to have a better life than what I had. I don't want them to have to struggle. I don't want them to have to, have to wonder where I'm gonna get this from, how I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna do that. I don't want them to go through that. Mm-hmm. So
as you're going through this too, I have to imagine that you had an idea of what the process would be like. You hear like, okay, I can go back and there's a program, I can go get my high school diploma and get the CNA. You had in your mind's eye, even before you met April, you went to that first college to check out an option. How did you think the process was going to work versus what you actually experienced?
I honestly didn't think that I was gonna go through what I did. I mean, I was when the guy said, it's gonna be $18,000, I thought I was gonna lose my mind because I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna have to pay $18,000 to get a high school diploma. I just didn't think it. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, April made me, she gave me hope because I was gonna give up. I honestly was gonna give up, but she gave me hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have someone right alongside with you through that whole process, which I got to imagine too is something maybe different that you might not have expected.
Yeah, I know she got tired of me calling her and texting her like, April.
No, yeah, I'm so happy to provide that support for somebody because I wish I could have had that when I was going to school. So you text me,
and that's the first thing that she said. That's the first thing that she said. I remember when we first met. We came here to the collaboratory, and that's the first thing she said to me. She's like, I wish I had someone When I was going to school, the support, support me and talk to me and give me advice, and she didn't have that. And that's the first thing. And that's what I'm always remember what she said. That
What did
gave
that
me,
do for you? What did that mean to you?
I mean, it gave me hope, like okay, like there are actually people out here that want to help, you, that want to see you do better, that want to see you achieve things. It gave, because I felt like did nobody want to help me, then nobody want to see me do better. That was my attitude until I met April.
Where do you think that comes from?
I mean, my childhood, the way I grew up, you know, but meeting her, it gave me, that that positive outlook on life. Like, okay, like there are good people.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be a breath of fresh air every now and then.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
So many people have that negative association with higher education because they think that it's a school, it's a business, they only care about money. I always wanted to be a teacher growing up, and I went through that same feeling and thought, what the heck is going on here? Like, does anybody here care about the actual student? And now working and visiting all the schools, people do care about the students. They do. And these experiences that you've lived and have, made you feel biased in a certain way, like as if nobody cares. You live these experiences and they made you feel this way. But I'm really glad that you can see that is not the way that everybody is. The schools around here are awesome, and they have really great support.
They are.
You can lean on them, you can count on them, and we're here too as an additional support. So I'm really glad that we were both able to see that, there's more out there.
April, I know you're fairly new as a navigator for students and adult students who want to reconnect. And, how many students do you support, and how common are some of the, challenges that Juquilla has just talked about that you are finding yourself having to resolve? We constantly talk about the problems that we're solving over and over again. We're not actually dissolving them, right? We're just constantly resolving them with every new person. How many students are you supporting? How common are some of the challenges that you've had to continually solve and over again?
So the program launched in January, and right now we're currently at 188 adult learners that we're helping to actively get back into the class, stay in and complete their program, whether it's a skills or trade certificate, a degree, any type of schooling, their GED, their English classes. We're helping them to go from that first step as far as they want to go. And the supports that we offer look different for different people. A lot of people need help with just the application and enrollment process. Completing the FAFSA is a huge barrier for so many people. I know so many extremely educated parents that struggled big time completing the FAFSA with their kids. I know parents that left scholarships completely on the table because they said, I can't get that FAFSA done. So, we're going to help you get whatever application for the school, application for the financial aid. We'll help you find the scholarships. A lot of what we help with is that often. Unfortunately, now I am having more and more. Right now I have a handful of homeless students, so I try to help them connect to resources. So we're not inventing programs. There's a lot of great programs that already exist. We don't need to invent them, but we're connecting people to them. And so I have a list of things that we help with, but I always tell people this is just very little of a very short list, because we will literally do whatever you need to get your credentials. So sometimes you think that there's not help for you out there, but there's something out there for everybody. We just have to find it, and we want to get it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think what's something just tracking what you're talking about here, there's folks who say, well, wait a minute, isn't that the job of the college or the high school? Like, we have all these counselors and we have admissions counselors and things like that. But, of the list of things, yes, of course, you help many adults navigate the admissions process and make sure they submit all the materials that they need and how to find it. But, you've also just listed out how your role is very unique, being at the kind of center of everything that a person might need. It's not just about getting into college, right? It's, hey, you need to have maybe a different job or a job in the first place to make sure you're still, supporting yourself and your family, housing support, food access support. You mentioned, small dollar amounts to release transcripts and fees and scholarship navigation. So, I think it's just something that's important to underscore for those who might be less familiar with, why does it take an external navigator at a 501c3 nonprofit organization to ensure more people get on an application pathway and into higher education?
I'll tell you why, because if you want to see an academic advisor at a certain school, you usually have to already be enrolled in that school to be able to have an appointment and sit with an academic advisor. So I don't work for a school. I'm not biased. You see, when Juquilla went and visited that private school, they didn't tell her that, that's too much for you. You can't afford it. Guess what? There's other options out there. They didn't tell her that because they didn't want her to take one of the other options. They wanted her to go there. I don't care where she goes. I want her to go to the best place that is going to make sense for her schedule, that's going to get her where she needs to go. So I want to get the information. I have no bias, and I'm going to bring it to her, all the opportunities available to get her where she wants to go. So that is one reason that an outside navigator is super helpful.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, Juquilla, I just want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
I got to imagine that you're telling your friends and maybe some of your family about what you're doing. I mean, you're someone who's making big life changes. Suddenly it's boom July and you're in a new job. What sounds like a great job with Lee Health, and on your way to becoming CNA and then eventually an RN, and on your way to get your high school diploma. You're also enrolled in these programs. What do you tell your friends and family, and what do they think about what you're doing?
My family has been very supportive. They're very proud of me, especially my sisters, being that I'm the oldest. So everybody under me, they have their high school diploma, and they're just, excited for me to complete, my journey. But I have a great support system.
Mm-hmm. Anyone think you're crazy for doing all this?
No. No. My son did at first. He was like, "Mom, why are you going back to school?" I was like, "This is something that I got to do for me, baby. It's something I need to do for me."
And when you complete, what do you hope that your kids might say?
Yeah, Mom, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
They are so proud of you.
That's all I want. Yeah.
Well, they're so proud of you, and you're showing your grandson and your kids that you don't stop until you are where you want to be.
That's right. You got to keep going, no matter how old you get. No matter how old you get, you got to keep going.
It's never too late.
Never.
And I just want to say congratulations. It's a huge,
thank you,
massive accomplishment, and clearly. We're all going to be, we're already proud of you and can't wait to celebrate along with you as you finish the CNA work and then move right on to your next adventure.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And April, if folks want to learn more about the Future Makers Coalition and your Reconnect program, where should they go?
Yes, that's awesome. You just go to our website, www.futuremakerscoalition.com/navigators, and you can hit get started and you get connected to a navigator, and we will reach out to you right away, learn about where you are, where you want to be, and help you make a plan to get there.
Wonderful. Well, I do hope more folks come and check you out and get the kind of help. I mean, April, you're just I don't know. You sound and feel like every coach we could ever want for everybody, and
definitely is.
I really love what I do. I don't regret any of the experiences I've had because they make me as passionate for this job. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be, And there's so many people in this community that just need this support to get to where they want to be. So the sky is the limit with this program. I'm so excited to be with it, and I'm so excited for everybody that's going to join us.
Yeah, your enthusiasm is very, very clear, and I'm just happy to have met both of you. And thank you so much for spending some time and sharing your stories with us and with the world. And know that you're making a difference every day, and we're just really excited to keep following your trajectory. And hopefully, we can check back in maybe in a year's time when you're running that floor, Juquilla. And
Yes.
whatever your adventure leads you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Joining me now is Jamar Izzard from Philadelphia. I'm here to talk to us a little bit about his journey coming back into college and ultimately finishing his degree. Jamar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dig in. You and I were just briefly chatting, and if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of start way back when was, going back to high school and just, I know that you, decided to go to college at one point in time and, eventually kind of made your way back around 20 years later. But let's go back in time, and start, from, did you always intend to go to school post high school? What was that like for you?
I thought it was. I don't think it was like around me as far as in high school. It was never pushed for me to go to college. It was more or less going to the working field or whatever. But I always had interest in going to college. One, because I was the first one to graduate high school in my family, and I would have been the first one to attend and graduate college in my family's history. So I definitely had, that interest myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're the first person, you're the first generation college goer. Did you end up going to college right after high school?
Immediately, yes. I couldn't wait. I just once I graduated, I attended Cheney University, and I ended up transferring to Westchester University. It made it to my junior year, and unfortunately, during my junior year, I got in a car accident, and I had to sit out. And unfortunately, me sitting out turned from 1 year to almost 20 years later. So it was a long process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the story for so many folks. It's a one speed bump. Not to torture a car accident analogy here, but one obstacle can really set us apart. As you think back to that time in your life, did you feel like you were doing well in college at the time, like going on to junior year? Like, what was that transition like for you?
Initially, when I got to college, I did struggle. Because my high school experience wasn't that great. I was prepared to go to college, so just because of the curriculum and such. But once I got there and I started to, go after my first year, my second year, then once I made it to my junior year, I feel as though I was doing well. My GPA, I think at the time was like a 3.5. So I really put in the work, and I was feeling good about myself. I was feeling good about graduating in the future within that year. So
yeah. So you get in this car accident, like you said, you thought maybe you'd be out for a short amount of time, but it ended up being a little bit longer. What happened during that time?
I was recovering, and once I got a chance to recover, fortunately, within a couple years, I ended up still getting an internship in my field, which was communications at the time. And once I got an internship, I was offered a job within 6 months. And I started working in my field in radio. And I got in radio and worked in all the little departments, and worked extremely hard. And later on, I became an on-air personality, and I was there for 10 years, a little over 10 years, I think. Yeah, so life happened.
Yeah, it's funny because we often say, hey, listen, go to college, get the degree, get the credential you need so you can work the job that you have, and then suddenly here you find yourself, wait a minute, I kind of work in the job that I wanted. When did you start thinking about, wait, maybe I do want to go back and complete my degree?
Well, that was although I've had success in my career, I did reach a point to where I feel as though I couldn't move as far as I wanted to without a degree. Because I was looking at possibly becoming a future general manager and such. But I knew I couldn't get there without my degree. And also was always in the back of my mind that I needed to finish this degree. I needed to make this happen. And even though I was out so long, in my family, no one still graduated college. So I always felt like I was the leader of at least my cousins and my siblings. So I also had to set the example. And then later in life, I had kids. So it made me want to do it. But throughout my career, wanting to move forward, I kept hitting the roadblock. And then in the back of my mind, I knew I had to finish.
Mm. What were some of those roadblocks? Because this is something we hear often from folks who return. They for a variety of reasons they end up leaving college before completing a degree or a credential. They get working and do really well in their career, but they kind of experience this time where it says, okay, here's an instance when I really had to go back. What were some of those moments where you kind of realized, wait, in order for me to get the promotion, the next job, the thing that I want to do next, I need to get a degree? Are there specific stories that come to mind?
Well, yeah, I would say when you're trying to go at a position and you may have experience, way more experience than other people that's applying for the job. This is my personal experience. Way more experience than other people going after the job, but the difference between us two is that they have the credentials. And even though they may have had the maybe 1 or 2, 3 years experience, and I had maybe 8 at the time, I was often overlooked because I didn't have the necessary credentials. And it was I was heartbroken quite a few times over that. And it made me say, hey, I gotta go after this. I remember one time I was trying to go after this position at the station. It was a management position. And someone at the station also was applying. But the difference is that she had her degree and I did not. And she got hired and I had to sit back and watch her do a job. I was helpful as much as possible and I was very happy for her, but I also felt a little pain myself that I didn't get it.
Yeah. So, you come to this decision to decide to go back to school and complete that degree. How did that feel? Was it like a kind of scary feeling, a daunting feeling? I mean, did you just wake up one day and be like, this is what I'm doing, let's go?
It was overwhelming. It was a lot to think about because we're talking about 20 years later. I didn't have these gray hairs then, and we're talking about I was married. I ended up having kids. I had adult bills, mortgage, car payment, all of the above. So it's just like, I want to make this move, but how do I make this move without interrupting my family life? And we had to sit down, me and my wife, sit down and we spoke. And she was very supportive. She was very supportive because she has her master's, and she was rooting for me to go back. And we had to make some adjustments, some tough adjustments, in order for me to make this move. And hey, I ended up successfully doing it. I'm excited and happy I was able to.
Yeah. What kind of adjustments did you guys have to make?
Financial adjustments, definitely. Financial adjustments when it comes to, how much we spend per month. You're not going out as much. Adjustments as far as spending time with your family and your kids because you have to worry about work, school. You have to make smart decisions consistently because of the fact that you want to maintain your GPA. With me, I try to maintain a GPA over 3.5. And I wanted to graduate with honors, which I ended up doing. But when it comes to financially and spending time with your family, a lot of that, it was a bumpy road. I'm gonna say it was a bumpy road.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, it is a lot of moving parts. And, that's what we hear from, folks all the time, especially when trying to work full time, go to school, even part time or full time, while raising a family can be a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Did you end up applying to a lot of different schools or you just kind of lock in on one? Did you go back to the one that you started with?
Well, I did have a little rough time receiving some of my transcripts because it was like 20 years later. I had to go to the university and I had to get some grades corrected because, like I said, I got in an accident. So that semester, I was actually graded by a couple professors. So I had to find old documentation from 20 years ago. Luckily, I'm a pack rat, so I kept all my documentation. Had to go up to the university, which was Westchester University at the time, and they was amazed that I still had this paperwork. It was very fragile paper, but I had it. So they corrected my grade. They ended up giving me my grade. I think it was over 3.5. Once they calculated everything. And I was excited about that. So that was the rough part, trying to get the old paperwork and go back to the school, and then figure out, hey, am I going to Westchester? I ended up meeting with an advisor. Then I was looking at finances. Where do I stand? Am I going to be able to afford it? Am I going to have to come out of pocket? And so how much? And that pretty much helped me make my decision on where I was going to go and how this was going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, someone out there who created that, those old carbon copy triplicate forms, where there would always be that top sheet, the pink one, the green one, the yellow one, or gold. Paying off today for sure, having to dig through those old records. Where did you end up re-enrolling at?
Well, I ended up re-enrolling at Southern New Hampshire because I had originally I had 2 semesters to finish, but it was so long. A lot of those classes that I took, they couldn't accept those credits. So I ended up going to Southern New Hampshire, and it was actually a great experience. I was a little hesitant at first because it was online, but I took the time, I learned the process, and it was a great experience. But Southern New Hampshire is where I finished my degree.
Did Southern New Hampshire end up honoring a lot of the past credits and courses that you took 20 years ago? Is that one of the reasons that drove you there?
Well, it was the money too. The money played a big role. The money, because I was using financial aid, and while I was in my undergrad, I was young, so I was taking out the max loans, which I shouldn't have been. So I was coming to a limit to where I'm like, okay, I only have this amount of money left. So what am I going to do? I need to pay it out right, and also I'm at to get in my pocket a little bit to contribute as well. And like I said, when you're dealing with a family, it's a family of 5 total. So you really got to think that out when it comes to your finances. But Southern New Hampshire, they accepted a lot of my credits. I ended up doing 1.5 years. So I went straight through the summer and completed my degree, but it was more or less the financial aspect of it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's a really aggressive timeline to complete the degree. So, you get into Southern New Hampshire, you start in your classes, you're still working, you're still, taking care of the family and all that too. And, being the family man you are, I got to imagine that there were times, trying to adjust to online education as well and all that, that you might have needed a little bit of support.
Yes. My advisor, I feel like I was one of her kids. I spoke with her so much. But that's what you need. You need a person that's going to advise you, that's going to help. I had help within Southern New Hampshire and also Graduate Philly. They helped me as well, and then home with my wife. But you're going to need that help. There's no way, if you have a family, you have a partner, you have other responsibility and bills, there's no way you're going to do it by yourself smoothly. There's going to be some bumps in the road. But it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people it's interesting because it's like, okay, you had an advisor through Southern New Hampshire, and it sounds like they did a great job by you, right? But then you also had some a different support from Graduate Philadelphia. What was the difference between those supports? Why are both needed?
Okay, well, Graduate Philly helped me get back on track when we talk about the financial aid, because I was irresponsible and defaulted on my loans. Graduate Philly helped me get back on track. I had to do a payment process, went through the payment process, far as helping me select the schools, looking at all my options, and also staying up on me. I would receive those emails every couple of weeks just to check up and see how everything was going. But far as with my advisor at Southern New Hampshire, of course, she made sure I took all the proper classes, always on hand when I needed her, made sure my financial aid was correct after Graduate Philly helped me out, and just kept me on track and told me exactly what I needed when I needed it. And we had worked as a team in order to get me out of there, and it worked. It worked.
So you graduate. Congratulations. Fantastic. What's happening now? What happens next? How long ago did you graduate?
I graduated, I want to say about a couple years ago, like a little over 2 years ago. About a little over 2 years ago, I think. I was excited, but all honesty, I didn't feel like I was done. I felt like my wife and my kids, they were more excited than I was, if that sounds right, but I felt like I wasn't done, which led me to go after my master's degree. Right now, I'm at St. Joseph University, studying clinical mental health counseling. and hopefully to get licensed and eventually go after my doctorate.
Wow.
So we'll see how I feel once I get to that point.
Yeah, I'll say, keep talking about the family connection. I witnessed my wife go through a PhD program, and I always thought, yeah, one day I'm going to go after the PhD. And then I watched her go through it, and I was like, yeah, maybe not. But I think you could do it for sure. You seem like the person who has the right the right tenacity for it, for sure.
No, that's funny you say that because my wife, she said to me she was thinking about going back to school until she saw what I was dealing with going back to school. So luckily she already has her master's, but she was thinking about going back until she witnessed all the things that I had to go through. Me stressing out when it comes time to do my midterms and do papers and such. But hopefully, maybe she'll change her mind. But I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, our wives will get along, being the smarter of the two of us pair. But I guess it's interesting because there are a lot of folks that say we look at the numbers at a national level, and we see all these adults, folks like you who had enrolled in college straight out of high school. Something happens in their life, and they have to stop.
Yes.
And they don't come back, and yet. Here we're hearing from you, receive the right supports to get back into the system from an independent organization that help you navigate your choices, help you navigate the financial process and all that. And then, receive really good support while going through courses. And now what I hear you saying is, and you've kind of, the bug bit you, you're already working on your master's, you're excited to get into the PhD. What do you think that says about folks who might have been in your shoes that do want to come back?
It says you can do it. You can definitely do it. It's just you're gonna experience the blood, sweat, and tears. I used to box, and that was the thing that we used to say is the dedication, your blood, sweat, and tears. And it may come to that point because you have to sacrifice so much. But luckily, when I enrolled and I was in school, I wasn't the only one that was in my age group that decided to come back. It was a couple people that was older than me, and I found us gravitating to each other. So your support system, yes, it is at home and is with your advisors, but also you can build a rapport with your classmates as well that's in your same position. But it says that you can do it. It's just that you have to put in the work and you have to set yourself up to be able to put in the work. So that's preparation. You have to prep before you come back after 20 years like I did, but it's definitely possible. And I definitely think it will pay off. Definitely.
Yeah. Jamar, we also have a lot of folks who listen to the show who are in higher education. They work for colleges and universities, or they're state policy makers or other foundations. Looking at your experience of re-enrolling and the kind of support and all those pieces to get you to completion, where do you think that things could have been a little bit easier had we redesigned our higher ed system a little bit better? If you could give some folks, hey, this was a barrier and it made absolutely no sense. It's great that you got through it, but it shouldn't have been that way. Does anything come to mind?
The student loans. I mean, because if you owe money and you may have went through some financial issues, or like I said, you're young, you default on a loan, you're still moving. You're not really thinking about that until you become my age. And you're like, oh man. I think when you come back as a learner, I think it should be more of an easier process without trying to reach out to the other organizations to try to help you and advocate for you. You should be able to make that call, advocate for yourself, and get that done. But I think getting the money to me was one of the hardest things. And I think that if our elected officials could make some adjustments on a federal level, I think that'd be great. I think we can get a lot of people back in school. Currently, I have a friend who went to Villanova. His father died in his senior year. He has 9 credits to finish, and he never went back. And there's a financial thing. So if they're able to make some forgiveness and some adjustments, I think that would be key.
So it's a matter of, helping folks kind of, in some cases pay back down balances or extend the financial aid clock. Because that's one of the things I heard you say earlier. Yes. Hey, I kind of made my college choice a little bit as you came back on, to the place that I could afford with the remaining financial aid that I had. So what you're saying is that, hey, for adults that want to come back, the financial aid process needs to be clear, and there needs to be a way that we can handle financial issues from the past. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because like I said, usually, like I just turned 17 when I went to college. So it's just like you don't really understand a lot of what's going on. When it comes to the finances, all you want to go to school and you sign a paperwork. You sign a paperwork you're trying to get in. That's if you don't have a parent that's fortunate enough to pay for your school, which I didn't. Like I said, I was the first one to graduate, high school. So I didn't have that support, even though my family was proud of me. But I think going back, the financial piece is a major thing. It's like, I think even if you can make some adjustments when you look at the person, you look at the household, you look at the expenses, this and that, if the school or if the federal government can make some adjustments to accommodate those individuals, I think we'll have more people graduating that could contribute to this economy on a bigger level.
Yeah, absolutely. So after you finish your master's degree, what's next?
Well, my doctorate, like I said, my doctorate, I'm definitely gonna go for that. But I have a strong background in communication and also community engagement. That was also my thing. The Mayor Nutter, when he was here in Philadelphia, me his co-chair for the Mayor's Commission on African American Men, to try to come up with solutions to combat gun violence and also education and so on, and deal with those different issues. So that's my passion. Is people in general. So I see me definitely working in that field and also using my counseling degree to work in these communities that need it.
Mm. Well, Jamar, I so appreciate the time that you spent with us, your willingness to kind of share your insights and your journey of your life, quite honestly. And I, for one, am very excited to continue following your work and wish you all the best in finishing your master's and all the best in going after a PhD, because that's no joke. But you seem like you're the kind of guy who has it.
No, don't scare me. Yeah,
No,
don't scare me,
it.
man. Don't scare me.
You got it, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate this, and I enjoyed this conversation.
Welcome back. What we learned from Juquilla and Jamar is that the right supports at the right time, more and more adults can re-enter higher education and complete their degree. This is not an issue of motivation or perseverance or grit. It is an issue of support and helping an adult navigate an education system that is set up for traditional age students. In part 2 of our show, we're going to talk with some nonprofits and higher education institutions working hard to support returning adults, exploring what we can learn and apply from their cutting-edge work. Be sure to keep watching part 2 to hear the full story. But for now, it's time for us to go. Our show is produced by Jacob Mann, John Strauss, and me, Dakota Palicki, with support from Matthew Jenkins, Amy Bartner, and the team at Site Strategics. Well Done Marketing supports the promotion of our show, and Deborah Humphreys and Kevin Corcoran provide leadership for Lumina's strategic engagement efforts. Please be sure to subscribe and rate our shows wherever you happen to be getting to your podcast or watching us on YouTube. If you do have a comment or idea for a future show, reach us at luminafoundation.org or reach me on Twitter at Dakota Palicki. Thank you so much. Join us for part 2, and we'll be sure to see you next month.